Hi, this is Kylie Koo and welcome to #ArtHopPrimitive, an art hop organised by Peg Robinson with the prompt of primitive. So I have here a piece of mixed media paper, approximately 21 centimetres by 21 centimetres, which is around just over 8 inches by 8 inches. And I'm taking 3 of my favourite colours here and just creating the background. So for primitive, I have decided to create a tribal mask, or at least a tribal mask art journal page. I find tribal masks fascinating. I love the fact that they are very symmetrical. There's many very bright in colours and others carved out of wood, and today I'm doing a kind of representation of a wooden mask. Now, I did do a sketch of this beforehand, really just to try and get a feel for scale as much as anything. So I'm working from that sketch. I'd actually produced a sketch on a piece of coffee paper, coffee dyed paper, which I really liked, but I did want to have this kind of brighter background. So, you get tribal masks in many different cultures around the world. And I guess to an extent I am probably influenced by African type tribal masks in terms of this piece that I'm working on. But, it's not about a particular style or from a particular region or tribe or anything. It's very much just taking some different patterns, etc., that I'm working into this. So it's probably a tribal style mask rather than trying to copy something in particular. So I had sketched that out and I'm now using burnt umber to fill the mask in, trying to get that kind of colour of wood. And although I had sketched the detail of the mask in, I do decide just to cover it all up because the scale of my sketch, the facial features, is not such that I want to leave it that way. I do want to adjust it a bit, but I thought it was as easy just to paint over it all and take it from there. So there you see it completely covered with the burnt umber. So now I'm taking a white, I think it was actually antique white, but that doesn't matter, a white Inktense pencil just to mark in the features. Now the reason that I've used Inktense pencil is if I get it wrong I can then actually just rub it out with some water, but I go ahead and mark that all in and then I decide to go over it with a white Posca pen. Now I had thought about doing it in black first, doing the lines in black and then doing some highlights with the Posca, but when I'd seen it with the white Inktense I actually decided that that was the kind of look that I was going for. So I just go all over that. I'm not showing you all of that in detail because you can see what's there in terms of the Inktense, so it is very much just about marking all of that in. Now, as I say, these tribal masks, they are very symmetrical and I can't get that exactly the same, so I'm allowing for a bit of artistic interpretation in terms of this. So I do notice here that one of my ears isn't quite right, or at least one of the ears on the mask isn't quite right, so I will look to correct that. I'm just referring back to my original sketch. And just filling in a bit more detail there with the white. So at this stage I decide that what I'll do is I will take a permanent marker and go around the outline. That kind of tidies up the edges of the paint, but it also just helps. It allows the mask to stand out just a little bit. So wondering there what I'm going to do with the ear. I had already planned to use some colouring pencils to do some detail, so I try it with a bit of brown, but that's not going to be a deep enough colour, so I put on a layer of the burnt umber, and I actually put on, I think it's 2 or 3 layers, just to bring it up to the colour of the rest. But meantime, I take a black colouring pencil, and all I'm trying to do here is to reflect, you know, the kind of natural changes that you get in wood over time. When you look at some of these masks, they do have certain darker parts on it. Obviously when the light's on the mask, you'll see reflections. I'm not trying to get those reflections on it, but just trying to highlight where some of the darker bits may be. I guess it's almost a kind of patina on the wood itself. So just going around that. You can't see it terribly well on here, but hopefully in some of the images at the end it will pick it up that bit easier. And especially going into those bits that would have been within a mask actually carved from the wood. And there I go with just a second coat of paint on the ear. So now that I've got that done, I do want to do a border. So again, I'm just using the white Inktense just to sketch out a border. Now I don't want the border to take away from the main focal point, which is the mask, but I do want to do something that will kind of bring the whole piece to, I'm going to say to life, just for want of a better phrase. I want it to have a bit of, I don't know, just a bit of kind of sparkle almost. So I'm using this iridescent paint from Pebeo in orange. So I didn't want to take away from the background, which I really like, but equally just something to help frame the mask. So once I've painted all of that in, and again I didn't show you all the detail of me doing that, I'm now taking a black fine liner and I will go around the outside edge and the inside edge of the border. And again, I'm not going to show you all of that in detail because it did take a little while. Once that was done, I then do the same with a white Posca around the inside edge and the outside edge. And I think that just helps frame the mask, but also allows the border to stand out a bit. What I then wanted to do was just to do a few pieces of my interpretation of tribal design. I don't want to do it around the entire border, but just sufficient again that gives that kind of flavour of, rather than being a true representation of. So just some things that I had in my mind that would kind of fit with the mask. So at this point I just want to say a big thank you to Peg Robinson for doing all the hard work of organising this. Very grateful to her for inviting me to be a part of this art hop again. Hashtag art hop primitive. Please do follow the links below to check out the work of the other artists. I've had a sneak peek of some of the videos that others have created, and again there's some, you know, wonderful videos, wonderful pieces of work within that, so please do follow the links. So just using the eraser to take out 1 or 2 pieces of the white Inktense, just signing it, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you like my interpretation of the primitive prompt. As always, I thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me again for my next video. Bye for now.